So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And this is a pre-recorded podcast. Just wanted to put something out very, very quickly on Ian Maatsen, somebody that was linked by Matt Law today to Aston Villa. It's unsure as to whether it's as part of the John Duran transfer link or transfer package, but it's somebody that I just wanted to chat about. Actually, before we get into it, let's talk about that. So I have the John Duran transfer piece for me. It's Matt Law also said that it's believed the deal for John Duran, which could be worth up to 40 million, has been agreed. There are still some hurdles to overcome, he has mentioned. Now, I don't know whether it's not been reported anywhere, whether that's a full 40 million or it's a 40 million made up of player transfers or players plus money and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out about that. But also, in the article, he mentions that Aston Villa have inquired about Chelsea left-back Ian Maatsen. So obviously, Ian Maatsen is somebody that has been, spoken very, very warmly of around European football. Absolutely fantastic season at Burnley 2 years ago, and then Borussia Dortmund this year. Burnley, we know, were in the market for him, or we're looking to sign him for upwards of about 30 to 35 million in the year just gone. So very, very interesting to see that Villa would be potentially having discussions with regards to him, whether it's in a separate deal or whether it is with regards to the John Duran deal. The reason I say that is because Fabrizio Romano reported that Aston Villa were looking for players, and it would have to be players moving, and Conor Gallagher wouldn't be one of those players for John Duran to move in the opposite direction. Now, I don't know whether that's at Villa's behest or whether it would be at Chelsea's behest, but there's a lot of questions, I suppose, to answer there. People have reached out to me, not people involved in the club, but people who've told me things previously, and they've said that there isn't much in the player swap thing for John Duran, that any deals will be separate. However, they won't mind me saying this, but however true that is, when the rubber meets the road of this transfer, if this transfer does go ahead, well, then we will find out, I suppose, then. But it's really interesting. Like, Fabrizio Romano's source was a Chelsea website. Yes, albeit that Chelsea website has a ton of followers and has a ton of subscribers. That was quoted as Romano's source, and then that article or that website quoted Romano as their source. So, as I say, I've no reason not to believe either of the two of them. It's just I've heard slightly different from people who've passed on information to me previously with regards to this. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not pretending to be in the know on anything. They both could be linked. But getting back to the Ian Maatsen piece, it's really interesting because, Aston Villa are just being linked with left-sided player after left-sided player. And there is a lot of focus on Aston Villa's left side currently. The players that we have that have been linked to us, it seems like we can't sign right-footed players at the minute. They all seem to be left-footed, whether it be Samuel Elling Jr., whether it be Mario Hermoso, and so on. A lot of players that have been linked to Aston Villa have been left-sided. We do know that Villa are potentially looking to move on from one, if not both, of their left-backs. So the link isn't in itself surprising, but I think what it is it's a functional kind of link. Whether it's functional for the reporter or whether it's functional for Aston Villa, time will tell if we do get this one over the line or if we do end up signing Ian Maatsen. But I think it's a functional link based on that. The fact that Villa want to freshen up that left-hand side, and that left-hand side of the defence, namely, I suppose, more so than anything else. Which is strange because, Luca Dean had a fantastic season this year. Maybe it might come down to wages, but obviously any players you bring in will be on hefty wages too. So look, as I say, it's just interesting noting that left-hand side seems to be an area that Unai Emery and Monchi are focusing on at the moment. If links are true and if links are to go by, and I do heavily preface that as well because I can hear everybody typing in the comments already about that, that this link mightn't even be true in X, Y, and Z. So We obviously know that, but we're still going to discuss them anyway because it's interesting to look at the types of players that we're seeing being linked with Aston Villa. And Ian Maatsen is a very interesting player. Wasn't initially named in the Dutch squad, if memory serves me right, but has been named. We will see him at the Euros now, so we will get a really good look at him over the coming weeks in this tournament. Hopefully, that he will get game time for the Netherlands. But let's take a little look at Ian Maatsen. As I say there, he's a Chelsea player, obviously on loan at Borussia Dortmund, played in a Champions League final this season as well. So that's something that has to be borne in mind. He has all that experience, all that Champions League experience that he's gone through this year as well, which is quite important. And I think something that Unai Emery will like within these players. Let's take a little look at these statistics here now, and we'll just take a look at how he compares to the current incumbents within our team at the moment. I've put him in here as a left back / left midfielder. And the reason being is when we look at that heat map, he travels like he's industrious up and down that left wing, cuts inside as well, has played in that inverted full back role, as we can see here, has been tasked with playing left midfield as well at times this season, but predominantly has been a left back. He's been on the smaller side at 5'6", but we're not going to knock that because I'm not exactly a giant myself. But looking at his statistics there, from a defensive point of view, he does a fine job from a defensive point of view. We can look at areas there where he's low in aerial duel percentages, but hey, he's only 5'6", so if you're expecting him to be brilliant in that area, then you're going to be disappointed. There's other areas there that he's really good at, tackles, blocks, interceptions, all really, really strong. Also, the areas of the field where he makes tackles in, the attacking third and the midfield third. So he's high press. He has an ability to press higher up the field, which is something that Luca Dean was okay at, but wasn't particularly brilliant at. And I think maybe, that's something that Unai Emery is looking to improve in this coming off season as well. When we look at his passing statistics, this is kind of where the interesting piece for Unai Emery-led team will come. 84.7% passing completion rate, has been tasked with being a ball hog as well at 67.75 passes per 90. So he's not afraid of getting a workload. And that's something that, I've spoken an awful lot about. There's been a huge transition in Aston Villa players, and even going back, I think, to the Steven Gerrard era as well, even though Steven Gerrard never played never played the game of possession. He spoke about wanting to play it, but his tactics were nowhere near that. And Unai Emery has come in, and Aston Villa have players who are comfortable with lots of possession. Douglas Luiz, who potentially may be out the door as well, he is comfortable in possession. John McGinn is comfortable in possession. Boubacar Kamara is comfortable in possession. We've got centre halves who are comfortable in possession as well. So bringing in somebody like Maatsen as well, who is comfortable in possession, is a plus. I think everybody needs to be, because you can't have that person who really doesn't want to have the ball, because that possession-led style, as we see with Man City, will fall down if that is the case. A lot of players at Man City have worked on their game, arguably, and I'm not saying that Gvardiol was bad with the ball at his feet, but arguably he was never tasked with doing the amount of work that he has had to do at left back, and he's really grown into that role as you would expect a £100 million player to do. Aston Villa will look to control the ball a small bit more as the next factor evolution, within this team. And Maatsen gives you that ability, and he also gives you that flexibility, as I've spoken about before, that if you need to play him further up the field, if you need to play him in a wing-back position in certain instances, well, you absolutely can. And in a way, he gives you that hybrid presence, that hybrid situation of a mixture of an Alex Moreno and Luca Dean type player. And what I mean by that is that he can contribute to the build-up play as well, but he can also be on the end of it to try and finish the ball or to cross that ball in. As we've seen previously, Luca Dean is more so the guy who gets there and waits to be fed the ball to cross it in, and Alex Moreno is somebody who likes to carry the ball. So look, it's while I say that as well, Maatsen he's not the most prolific carrier of the ball, but he manipulates that ball into good positions, and he gets lots of touches on the way, which is good, I think, in this Unai Emery system. So as we can see here, he doesn't cross that ball in an awful lot. He's a bit more measured with his play. He likes to carry that ball forward. The tackling percentages and so on are what we would look at, I think, mostly for Ian Maatsen. and his passing ability, I think, is something as well that we would that Villa will look to exploit. I think, and not exploit. I think would be where Villa will look to utilize him. I think to exploit other teams, should I say? Let's take a look at how he looks there in comparison to fullbacks within the top 5 leagues in Europe. So as we see his radio graph here, we've seen an awful lot of numbers that are standing out there that are above average, as we can see here. The yellow here is possession. He's very, very prolific in possession. The red piece here is defending. Obviously, the aerial is the piece that's missing there. But once again, if somebody is 5'6", if you're expecting him to be a giant in the air, that's something that you're not going to expect based on the intangibles that he has. And then when we look as well at his attacking prowess here, we look at that kind of aquamarine kind of color there as well. He pans out pretty well when we look at the top 5 leagues in Europe. So all in all, look, it's a link at the moment. I'm not going to go into too much detail on him. A lot of you guys will have seen him play. A lot of people are excited in him play. I think he's a very functional player within this team. I think he fits the Unai Emery system. I'm just, to be honest with you, if it's a straight swap between him and John Duran, I'll be a bit disappointed. I don't think we need to spend 40 million if that is the value of the deal on a left back. I'll be disappointed in the deal, but not the player, if you know what I mean. So you have to be able to separate the two of them out. I'll be happy that Ian Maatsen will be an Aston Villa player, but I think that the maximization or the optimization of the deal itself from an Aston Villa point of view, spending a full 40 million on a left back for me might be a mal allocation of those funds. But hey, who cares really? I suppose it's not my money in this PSR world that we live in. That's something that Aston Villa have to work with. But Ian Maatsen would be a very, very good addition to this team. And if it does come to fruition, without knowing any of the deals or what way the deal is looking at the moment, we can discuss that all again later if this ever does happen. But yeah, so look, Ian Maatsen, very, very good player, very, very functional player within the system, which I think is important to say, and I've mentioned it a couple of times and I've phrased it that way purposely. And let's see if this one comes true. So it's a very, very quick one. We'll probably come back as well. I want to talk about another player that we've been linked with recently as well. And if anything breaks in the John Duran piece, we will come back and we'll chat about that later as well. So in the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.